Hi folks, welcome back to the channel. Thank you very much for joining me once again. You are always most welcome. Well, today, Airfix's latest recently announced release has arrived already, and it's only 2 weeks since Telford. So it's the 124 scale mesh estimated Bf109 G5 or G6. Both versions available within the kit, and it is kit number I've got this right, A17003. Sorry, I'm at a funny angle, can't quite read it now. We should talk about two things before we get started. Airfix have also provided, there's an optional set of masks which you can buy separately. Now it does come with masks in the kit. This is the second optional set, which I'm going to show you right at the beginning, which is mainly for the interior parts of the screens, which is quite important when you've got such a big screen. There's a real danger of you getting overspray on them, and you also want to get those interior frames, which are a different colour. I think they're black on the interior, if I remember, but they're a different colour to the outside anyway. So this is so you can mask off and paint both sides, basically. You've got the head armour, and there's also other items like the tail wheel and things like that. So that's a separate set, which they have very kindly provided for me. And of course we do have the sort of standard type canopy for the 109 and the earlier canopy, the one that has the less framing on it. You see them there. Now I am bound to say, before we start this review, there's a bit of an elephant in the room that has suddenly appeared that I was not aware of at Telford, I've got to be honest. My good friend Phil Flory, I'm one of his members actually, in the Flory family, he has actually pointed out that there's been some issues with this new set of masks that are produced for Airfix by Cartograph, and they've got issues where they're peeling up pretty soon, you know, not long after they've been applied, within hours, certainly within a day, especially mainly on, we've got to be very careful with this, I don't want to put the wrong idea in people's minds. It's to do with curvatures, and they seem to have a bit of a grip problem. Now I saw what Phil Flory said, and I've seen some photographs that one of the members took on Airfix's own stand, because I know there's been some debate about this between Phil and Dale at Airfix. Not quite a meeting of minds on this particular subject. I don't want to get into somebody else's discussion or argument, nothing to do with me, but I thought it was interesting, and I decided to get not involved, but just to do my own personal experimentation and to do a bit of science on this, because what a lot of you won't know is that I've got a background in the self-adhesive industry. Anyway, I don't want to go off at a tangent because I want to do a separate video about this. I have worked for 3 of the leading companies in the self-adhesive business in the world, and I do know about this subject regarding self-adhesive, so I'm going to talk about that separately. I am going to say, I don't want to go into too much detail now, but I am going to say I think there is an issue around this, but I don't want to dwell on it, and I don't want it to pollute this review which we're doing today, which Airfix have very kindly provided both the mask set and the kit for me to review. So I don't want to, ultimately, because of the research I've done, it is going to have slight impact on my view overall, but I don't want to muddy the waters today by going into that. So we'll do that on a separate day. The other thing is, several of you will be thinking, what's going on now? He's got a white finger. Well, that's because I sliced the end of my finger off. Not that badly, but badly enough to have a fountain of blood everywhere. So I've had to modify my gloves. I've got a dressing on it, which is brand new. I've just put the dressing on about 15-20 minutes ago. And I've had to modify the gloves. So that's why I look a bit weird. Looks like a bit of a Bond villain moment here. So I wasn't even modelling, that's the ironic thing. I was potato peeling. I was cooking the wife's tea, and we've got a new potato peeler which is like a lightsaber sharp, you know, and it took the end, I must have just caught it, and it sliced the end of my finger right off. Oh my god, the blood everywhere. Anyway, we won't get to that either, I don't want to pollute that. So let's get back to Airfix. Got my nice mug of Airfix tea here. Let's get into it. Now we have seen, I won't perhaps be quite as dwelling on this as long as I might have done, because Dale very kindly let me have a look at it, and I took some pretty extensive photographs that you'll have seen, I think, in my Telford montage, scale model world. But let's have a look at what we've got here. Now it's quite cold, I've got to say, for the touch, because it's just come from the courier and it's freezing outside. Yeah, we've had some very cold weather the last few days. Anyway, so let's have a look at this then. So this is the G5 or the G6 version of the ME109. Quite a numerous aircraft, of course. Let's zoom you in and let you have a look, and we'll get cracking without further ado. Because I don't want to sort of get too bogged down with other issues, which we'll talk about another day, I think. So we've got here the Daimler-Benz engine. You've got the machine guns on the top there, which are the 20 mils, I think I'm right in saying. Are they 20 or 30? No, 20, aren't they, I think, on this? Yeah, 30 mils is slightly bigger. Then you've got this option of having the engine on display with the cowls open. You've got a very detailed cockpit, lots of detail underneath under the carriage, and optional drop tank. And on the other side, it's actually not that huge a box for a big kit. It's quite manageable. And it's got the various ones. You'll see in the photograph of this, but I'm going to read you what it says. I'll zoom you back actually. By the way, I would just say to Airfix, this has arrived a little bit bashed, and it's not. Wasn't bashed in transit that I could see. The box was in perfect condition, so I'm not quite sure what's happened here. It seems to have been a bit of heavy handling back at when they were doing the packing, I think. Anyway, the other thing I noticed is that there's quite a lot of the tape's peeling. Tape seems to have an adhesion problem. We'll get into that in another show anyway. It says, arguably the most important Luftwaffe fighter of the aircraft of the Second World War, the Bf109 was designed by Professor Willy Messerschmitt. Prototype first flew in May of 1935, so it was earlier than the Spitfire, wasn't it? By sort of 3 years. 3 years. Basically a year. No, I think it's a full year before it flew. The 109E appeared in late 1938 and became a symbol of the Luftwaffe in the skies over England, dogfighting the Spitfires and Hurricanes during the Battle of Britain of 1940. Messerschmitt were working on the Bf109F, which featured the Daimler-Benz 601E engine with much improved aerodynamics. The wings were reduced in area and featured a new rounded wingtip design. The Daimler-Benz 605 engine was developed to be easier to manufacture than the complex 601E, and the power output was raised to 1455 brake horsepower. The Bf109, when fitted with this engine, became known as the Bf109G, or Gustav. February 1943, the nose-mounted 7.92mm MG-17 machine guns were upgraded to 13mm. That is 30 cal, isn't it? MG131s, leading to a distinctive bulged cowlings on the G5 and G6 models. The G5 and G6 were the most produced variants, with over 12,000 aircraft manufactured. The high-altitude G5 featured a pressurised cockpit with engine-driven compressor and sealed canopy glazing. There it is there, okay. And it goes on to say, the G could be fitted with 2 additional MG151-20 cannon in underwing gondolas, as well as 300-litre fuel tank, rockets and bomb racks. Tropical equipment allowed the 109G to serve in the dusty conditions of North Africa. The G6 first equipped JG-27, 51, 53 and 57 in the Mediterranean theatre. JG-27 was the one that had Marseille, the German ace Marseille. Forgot his full name. Anyway, come back to me. And he went on to equip many Luftwaffe units in the Western Europe and on the Eastern Front, where the highest scoring fighter ace, Erich Hartmann, achieved acclaimed 352 aerial kills. I mean, he was shooting down lots of slow flying and stuff, you know, Soviet stuff, but there we go. Anyway, and Airfix would like to thank the Airbus Corporate Heritage and the Floop Museum of Messerschmitt for their invaluable help with the creation of this kit. Okay, so let's have a look then. Let's not mess about, let's get straight into it. I say the tapes all seem to be not well stuck down. I don't know where this has been done. In India, we know it's been made in India, the moulding, but I don't know whether the taping's been done in India or whether it's been done more locally. It says cartograph decals included. Yes, 2025, made in India. Bum, 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 bum. Yeah, okay. 8-year-old plus. So there's going to be no photo H then. It's a bit raggedy the way they put this on. It's like it's had a bit of a squeeze. Anyway, we won't worry about that. Mustn't look a gift horse in the mouth. And before I forget, is it Clint, the chap that does the graphics and the artwork for the box art? This is one of their, really good box arts, I think. Just have another look at this because I sort of didn't get into that. We were laughing at the show. Several of us say, "Look, it's a PR photo reconnaissance Spitfires." Got embroiled in this, and then somebody else said, "No, actually, if you look, it's the Malta scheme, the sort of pale bluey Spitfire." It's unusual, but it's attacking obviously a formation of B-17s. Obviously somewhere in the Mediterranean, I guess. But isn't it nice? Nice bit of artwork. That really, really helps to sell the product, I think. And got some punch to it. It's retailing for $99.99. You can get it from some outlets for as little as $89.99 if you pre-order it. We will see what we've got now. Bear in mind, we have had a couple of quality issues from Airfix this year. I didn't see anything like that when I looked at the Sprues at Telford, so I'm hoping this will be just the same. Fingers crossed. Lots of bags. Some of them are a bit oversized again, but they do seem to be crimped sensibly, so that things can't move around too much. All right. One thing that struck me at Telford when I looked at this was again, you've got some slightly ripped. Oh, we have got ripped. The instructions are ripped, and the outer cover has come off, which is a bit unfortunate. I might have to restaple that or something. That's happened. It's almost like a Great Wall Hobby example, that, isn't it? It's this thing with Airfix. They do seem to just send out random samples. They don't seem to vet them before they send them to people like me and others who are going to review them publicly, Right, here we go. So we've got lots of things to see. I think what I'll do actually is I'll put these over there. Just stick them to one side, if you'll excuse me a moment. There we go. Yeah, now as I said, I don't want to get bogged down talking about these masks too much, but I would say this. From what I have seen, I'm giving you kind of a bit of a summary here, but without the detail. From what I've seen, these masks are different in many ways. I won't go into the detail now. I'll get into that in another video. But I think if you use them immediately before you're going to spray, I don't think you're going to have any issues at all. But if you use them like a lot of us do and leave them on the model for hours or days, in some areas you will have no issue. I think in the case of the canopy on the 109 you probably wouldn't have any problems. But on some of these things like the spinner and other areas you may have an issue. So all I'm saying is, I'll tell you more about that in another show. But if you just a word of warning, to get the most out of them, use them fresh. Don't do what a lot of us do usually, which is to leave them on for some time. These are better stuck on, yes, it's good to go, and then sprayed with your airbrush straight away. And I'll explain all the details because I've got the Lysander one in the background, which is the one I've been doing some experimentation with. And that will all become clear in a separate video, and I'll show you some photos and some of the research I did. And just share some of the knowledge I've got as well from my previous career, which is very germane to this. Anyway, beautiful set. You get everything there. You get even the spinner, so you can do a spiral spinner, which we saw at the show, which looked very effective indeed, I've got to say. So these are the Cartograph manufactured masks, and yeah, so you've got two sets now, haven't you? Because you've got the this is a separate product. This is the aftermarket one, which is the interior mask set, and this is the one that's provided in the kit. Airfix very kindly gave me both, so here I've got a complete set of masks for the lot. And you've even got the fuselage crosses there. Now, it doesn't give you a cross to do, it doesn't give you a mask I should say to do to do that other type of cross which we keep on talking about, and I'm going to get into this straight away because then we can, these are all the elephants in the room out of the way, then you can just get into looking at the review. Here's the Decals sheet, okay, it's got a bit bent. It's had a bit of rough handling, this has. It's definitely not arrived handled in the way I would have liked, if I'm quite honest. It's all bent out of shape, and that was ripped, and somebody's been very heavy-handed in the way this has been put in the box, and I hope that people's own examples that they are paying for, unlike me, so I'll make that clear, I hope theirs is in a slightly better condition than this. Anyway, cartograph decals look absolutely lovely, but where's our swastikas? Let's have a look at them anyway. So, Kein Bomb, yeah, which means not a bomb, not a bomb. Yeah, so we've got some really nice, fantastic stencils, very detailed ones, not over the top really, not over the top, and starboard down, starboard port down. Yeah, it's got some really good, I mean they're really nice decals, to be honest. Really, really clear, sharp. I just feel that, I don't know if this is because it's a bit bent because it's been cold. I don't think being in a cold environment's done it any favours actually. And it's come from India, so it's probably had some extreme different temperatures, I expect. But those are nice, aren't they? And you got this the captured version, which we'll get into this in a minute. The captured versions, the American or British markings, of course. But no Nazi version. There's no actual emblem on the tail, which is what is vexing some of us. Now, this is a bit like the argument again. We just so we'll get into the mask thing in a different show. But if you have to buy additional masks and you have to buy additional aftermarket decals, it just starts ramping up the price, doesn't it? You know, we just saw an ICM kit that I reviewed a couple of days ago where they'd mastered this. They're selling into the same markets. They sell into Germany and Poland and all those other countries. I still don't understand, and I've not. I spoke to Dale about this, but I was not really any wiser at the end on regarding what is actually stopping them from giving you some way to replicate it. It's as though they don't want to go there. It's almost like politics has crept into them. I don't really understand it. I'm going to have to, discuss this with Dale, I think, in an actual written question. Because it's vexing. It's vexing. And when you can see other manufacturers are doing it in a way that is circumventing the problem, what the modeller does with certain graphics is up to the modeller, but they haven't even provided any graphics that the modeller can work with here. They're just not there. You've got to go and buy your own. And I just think it's like airbrushing history. I don't like it. So I think the decals are beautiful. The quality looks absolutely fantastic. The colours look absolutely smack on, to be honest. But something is missing, and I just cannot understand why they just cannot do what the others do what the competitors do, and come up with a solution that, that basically satisfies everybody and offends nobody. And if people are offended by history, frankly, that's tough. There's no way we should be getting into that and trying to airbrush history, cancel history. It's, my views on this. Anyway, let's get into these. So we've got the colour call-out sheets here, which look amazing, I've got to say. I saw these at Telford and I thought, oh, yeah. I'm going to start with the G-5 version, which is the high-altitude fighter, which has got the pressurised oxygen cockpit. And zoom in a bit more, there we go. So this one is based at, there's a guy called Emil Heckler. It's Ludwig Schluscht in Germany in February 1944. So this is obviously, intercepting the, I suspect it's intercepting the B-17s at high level. Nice scheme, I've got to say. Very interesting camo. It's all detail for you, and a lovely bit of data. This is where Airfix seem to be excelling at the moment, so I've had a bit of a moan about a couple of things there. Now let's get on to the stuff I'm nice about them, because they're doing something really exceptionally well here. Giving you all this data, I'm not going to read it all out, it's been all day, but it's talking about the splinter camo and the mottling and the colours. Really good detail. I mean, this is what we want, isn't it? Absolutely brilliant, to be honest. Yes. Even going down to explaining the mottling techniques on On the other side we've got the, oops, wrong way up, got the stencils. All the stencils are here. Sorry, I just got a little problem with my light. All the stencils are there, stencil guide, and then stencil guide for the G5/6 and the G6 only stencil guide, 2 versions. Then over here into the actual colour callouts then. So then we've got this aircraft that was, it's not the G5, it is, where is it? Oh, I got them all here. G5, 6. It's the non. This one's missing. I got one missing here. I feel I haven't got everything out. It's really made a mess of that instruction book. It's a shame. Something appears to be amiss here. So, according to that, 14. That's the one I'm looking for. Right, okay. Okay, no, it isn't missing, it's just the way it's presented. Right, so, the G6 Trop. Now, this is the aircraft that gets captured and then is seen in the, first of all, the American markings and then in the British marking. It's all the same aircraft. And it gives you, talks about the invasion of Sicily, oh, it says that when they evacuated from Catania, all non-essential equipment was destroyed or abandoned. This aircraft, which was unserviceable at the time of the move, was found at Comiso Aerodrome by the Allies. Subsequently, it was slated fair condition, and it was taken over by the US Air Force. More of which we'll see later. So there you go. So this was serving in Sicily. Then here it is again, now taken over by the US Air Force. Here we go. The 14 plus scheme, depicted over leaf, was caught the attention of the 9th Air Force and the 57th Fighter Squadron's pilots. It was crudely repainted in US markings and made as a squadron hack while based in Pacino in Sicily. Basically, it's the same as Scheme A, but all the original German markings have been painted over, and the underwing gondolas have been removed. Okay, nice, though, isn't it? Very nice. And then, third time's a charm. Then it gets moved over when the RAF take over in February '44, and it becomes created as Yellow 14 and arrived at RAF Collie Western. The enemy aircraft flight, or the RAF Waffe as they sometimes called it. That's good. Okay, and then the RAF did some evaluation work on it. Interesting. Very, very good. So there you go, there's the markings for that. Then on the other side, now we'll get into the other option, which is the one that's got the Erler type canopy. Damaged in combat and belly landed at Nogent-le-Roi. And was found abandoned by the US forces, so the US got this one as well. The large 97 was crudely painted on the tail, previously suggested by researchers to be a captured airframe inventory number used by the Allies. Well, there you go, that's interesting. Okay, so we're going to read in all that. So I like that one with the Erler canopy. Just looks different, looks sort of more late, more modern. Do you know what I mean? So there we are. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 options. Yep, that's the 5, isn't it? Okay, so there we are. Right, zoom you back. Now, we're going to get into these instructions, which I say have seen better days. I'm not sure what's happening. Some of these, I think there's just been some very rough handling. I suspect that could even be in India, don't know. I do hope we're not going to start seeing quality issues and bad handling. So, first page is all the general sort of a bit of general data. So I'm going to take it out of this. I'll come back to it at the end because otherwise it will be unhandleable. So let's zoom you in. So then we get a full resume of the 5 options in terms of markings. Some very, very helpful stuff here where the And this is the sort of thing I keep screaming out for, and we very rarely get, apart from in people like Tamiya and Tsukimura. Cowling interior colouring. Well, you wouldn't get that in a border model kit, would you? You wouldn't get anything. You wouldn't tell you what any colours are apart from the exterior. Then we get, so 10 out of 10 to Airfix for that. Then we get notes on, you must read the whole of the instructions. Engine detail parts must be fitted before the engine is fitted into the frame, blah 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 blah. Showing you some options here about the different canopies, the different options in terms of the cowling open or closed, or the canopy open or closed. And then we've got engine details. Now again, this is Airfix really doing a fine job here. They're giving us the full detail about the engine and visual descriptions of the components and the colours. This is almost like Wingnut Wings Qatari style, isn't it? Absolutely brilliant. Yeah, right up there with Tsukimura, Wingnut Wings Qatari, that type of thing, which is rare. And they've done it really well. Look at that, top view, bottom view, everything. Absolutely great. I love that. Love that. Then we get into building our engine. So we're going to start off, I'll whiz through this fairly quickly because you'll see some of it. Fairly standard, building your engine main block and then your cylinder heads going in. Because this is an inverted V12, so obviously the cylinder heads are at the bottom on this design. Or will be when it's put in situ. You've got your front drive, the drive casing for the prop shaft, prop driver shaft, and then you've got all things like what's that? I think it's a vacuum pump, and then we've got all sorts of ignition system, magneto, and then we get into all of the sort of alternator, oil pumps. Fitting in the injection system. Here where my thumb is, we've got the supercharger, and then you've got the is that the air intake, I think. Yeah, that's the carburetor basically. Well, it's the fuel injection, of course, on this. This is the thing that made it famous. It was one of the first to have fuel injection, but it's basically the plenum chamber. Yeah, plenum chamber from the supercharger. You can see it's puffing the air. Boost the air at high pressure into this plenum chamber, straight into your cylinders. Then over here we've got underneath the engine you've got things like scavenger pump. What else we got? We got the main engine bracing bearers, the engine bearers, and then you've got all your coolant pipes and your injection system, your exhausts here, which looks fine, looks good. Really helpful, showing you the angles, some good instructions here. This is really nailing it, isn't it? All going in here, putting on your main. You've also got your shielding there. Sorry, that's there. The heat shield and flash eliminator over the exhaust to stop blinding the pilot, basically. Got your cooling system, where my thumb is here. Cooling system going in, and you've got your main. It's the main cooling ring at the front. More pipe work and hydraulics going in at the side. I knew what these were. The little oil tanks, aren't they? These is one on each side, I remember. Oil tank, they're like a high pressure oil tank. And then we've got, I'm saying that, it should tell us, shouldn't it, if I go back to that illustration, it might tell us. Does it show? Supercharger, hydraulic pumps, generator, hydraulic fuel tank. It points to it with Decals, it doesn't say what it is. Coolant tank. Sorry, it's not oil, it's coolant, big pardon. So it's a coolant tank here on both sides. More coolant piping. Just forgive my finger. I mustn't prod it against it though, because I'm still really suffering. But anyway, and then you've got your outer cowling for the front of the engine there, and then you've got the framework on which the cowlings are going to sit, and then so that's your main engine built. And then on this side we have got. Why is it offering you a different cylinder head? Have I missed something here? I think this is if you're not going to have the full thing on display. Is that right? sure that's terribly clear actually. 61. I think what it is, when you follow the instructions at the front, it says follow, you know, 1 to 60, and then if you're not going to display it open, have 61 onwards, because it seems to be a simplified version of the engine going in without all the detail. Yeah, it is. So this is the engine when it's shut up, or you're only having perhaps one bit of cowling open. It has the basic main components, but not all the detailed parts. No hydraulics, etc. Just the exhaust fitting in. So it's like a simplified, sort of dumbed down engine. Seems a waste to me because you've got such a brilliant engine. Then we get into the cockpit details, and you've got quite a few decals here coming in, obviously. Early and late versions. You've again got the colours. Again, it's looking very like Wingnut Wings, isn't it? Or Qatari style, where they've gone and shown you details of what the components are. This is exactly what we want. Border, you know, even ICM actually. We'd like to see more detail like this. Brevi gun sight, oxygen regulator, electrical circuit breaker panel. That's all there. That's brilliant. Love it, love it, love it. Then you're going to build up your cockpit. So you're starting off with basically with the back of the seat where the armour plating is. And then you're going to build up the mounting for your pedals and your seat base and your stick going in here. Again, plenty of detail on colours. This is the back of the cannon box where the cannon, ammunition, spent ammunition collector box is at the back. This is the cannon that fires through the propeller, of course. Sorry, through the spinner, I should say, to be more correct, not through the propeller, but through the centre of the spinner. And then we've got a few holes to drill, the trim wheels coming in here, and what else we got? Throttle, trim wheel, flaps controls, we've got some little bulkheads there, part of the structure, and then we've got this sort of completed cockpit area. And the seat looks very rudimentary, doesn't it? I've got to say, the back of it especially. But of course they were generally wearing a parachute on the back, so well, I should know about this, shouldn't I? What am I saying? Rudimentary seat, being very rude about it. When you've got that blooming parachute behind you, you know, actually the RAF used to sit on the parachute, so I was sitting on the parachute. In the case of my flight on the Spitfire, I got in, sat on the parachute, which is almost like a seat, a pad, you know, it's almost like the squab of the seat. They then strap that onto you. So it's a little bit different. I think the Germans wore the parachute generally on, did they wear it on the underneath, on the back side, or was it on the back? I think it was on the back more, the Germans. But anyway, I'm sure the experts amongst you will know. But that is the reason for the rather rudimentary looking seat, I think. Anyway, then we're going to bring in this assembly for the actual the pilot seat area, and then we're going to start mounting the open canopy. There's like a do not glue. I think there might be. Is this like a jig? I think this is just a test fit to decide whether to have it open or closed, and then you need to open up the lugs a little bit. And then here we've got the seat belts coming in, which are plastic, I think, in this case, which look like they might be quite good. Then you've got the closed canopy, open canopy options on the back behind the headrest where the armour plate is, and you've got your oxygen supply there, oxygen pipe, especially on the G-5, of course. It's very important on the high altitude version. Bring it a bit more, zoom back here. Too much. There we go. There we are. And then there's another couple of the sort of side here of the cockpit wall, building that up with all the switches in it, and then finally bringing in the two halves of the fuselage itself. And then starboard rear fuselage, you've got to remove some detail, and they basically want you to putty over it in certain versions. Well, then a bit more plumbing in the cockpit there. Things like the oxygen supply, I think, and probably the fire extinguisher as well. And then you've got your actual instrumentation coming in, instrument panel itself dropping in, and you've got the back here of the rear of the cockpit, which has like a stowage bin. Actually, it has like a flap that comes down, so the pilot could store maybe, I don't know, gloves or something, additional winter clothing in case where they were fighting in Russia or whatever. And then that goes in. There's a couple of options there. Then you've got this like a spar here that's going to attach the what is actually the top of the two wings, and you're going to build up what is basically a load of wing spars here that are going to sort of build it up quite realistically, in fact, I think. And then ultimately you're building up the wheel well. You're building it upside down, building the bay for the wheels, which of course have these, they were like almost like a leather zipped surround for lightweight, I think it was actually. And it was easy to repair as well, rather than have it in aluminium. And same with the side, building it all up, including the tail. Is that the tailwheel section? No, that's part of the actuation system for the main gear. And then now you are building it up your well walls, which are not solid on the 109. They're not solid all the way around. It's almost like a fabric, as I say. It's got this like a zippable material. It's really weird. Then you've got your slats for the front, the leading edge of the wings, and you've got choice there of open or closed. You've got a couple of options here if you want to have the wing gondola cannons, 20mm, and some also some more putting to do if you want to have certain versions, filling in a couple of these access hatches underneath. And then you're bringing in the underside of the actual wing down onto the main wing to complete the assembly, bringing it down then onto the actual fuselage. Then you've got your tailplanes to do, and you've got the horizontal stabiliser and the elevators here. Very helpful from Airfix, giving you what the deflection should be maximum, in other words, max 33 up, 34 down. And then you've got your rudder coming on here and popping in there, complete with the tail. Looks like they've done this, again, forgive the strange figure, they've done this with an option, so they can do optional versions of more 109s later, I'm sure. Different tails. Pop on your rudder, and then we have got the port assembly for the landing gear, the landing legs. Also there is like a forward bulkhead to go on here. Then we've got the landing flaps, I beg your pardon, landing flaps at the trailing edge of the wing. And what have we got here? Oh yeah, these are the radiators. Both sides have got radiators, of course, for the oil and the water. In fact, it's the water, isn't it? Because I think the oil radiator is the one underneath the chin. Building those up, fitting those in here, and radiator flaps closed or open, which is cool. And then you've got the choice of the flaps down or up, inner flap, outer flap. Some good detail by the look of it. Looks nice, doesn't it? Nice pictures. And then we've got the actual outer flap, sort of centre of the wing almost, and both sides. And then you go onto your ailerons, of course, complete with the balancer weights. Popping those on either way. You can have them obviously positioned however you want, basically up or down or neutral. Then you've got these slats at the front of the leading edge of the wing to put on, either extended or flush. And then we've got basically the engine mounting system, which goes here on the front bulkhead to help you mount your Daimler-Benz engine onto it, which you duly do over here. Then there's a fillet here going in, and you've got it shows you how the engine bearers should meet the fuselage, the main assembly of the fuselage itself, where the pipe should go. This is very helpful stuff, very Zoki more of that, excellent, showing you exactly where those pipes should go through. And then getting to the armaments, now we're talking about our MG131 13mm machine guns. These are the ones that sit on the top, of course. And then you've got the 151 20mm cannon. So, yeah, 20mm. So, quite a hard punch they pack, and very good for anti-tank work, anti-shipping, etc. ground attack really. Ground or surface, should we say. And then we have got these guns going in here, shows exactly how they are fitted in. Excellent detail of the positioning and the angles, just what you want. And then over here we've got the feed chutes for the gun belts, for the ammunition. That's really nice actually, very good. And then you've got your cannon Bueller, because obviously they've got this sort of the drum, the feed drum is exceeds the normal parameters of the line of the fuselage shape, so they have these bulges or Buellers on the G series, and you can see how it fits over there. There's the cowling going on, and there's the underneath the between the gear, the lower fuselage cowling going on there. And then we've got our oil radiator I mentioned earlier, which goes under the chin of course, and it looks like you have that open or shut on the flap I think as well. Can you? Oh no, I think the flap is actually fixed. Okay. Doesn't seem entirely clear. Yeah, note the position. This reminds me of my Tamiya one that I've got the finished model of course. And then you got your main gear legs going in here. I hope they're strong. They need to be. But they look fairly meaty, don't they? Shows the angles they should be at there. And then obviously the gear doors go on the back of them. And then you have your wheels and tyres to come in. And I can tell you there's two different types of wheel and tyre tread. You've got your main tail wheel, which I don't think retracts, does it, on the G? I don't think they had a retracting wheel. I think it's fixed. Here's those tyres I've just mentioned, and you've got the two options here, different types of tread. A more open one, more open tread, or sorry, that's the more open tread, or the slightly more grooved tread. Bilateral cross-sectional grooves, I mean, grip. And then you've got your hubs going in there, and then finally you fit them to your legs at the bottom. Then you've got your little pallet for fitting your drop tank on if you wish to do so. And similarly your fittings for your gondola cannons, your 20mm cannon under the wings. I got cool with that on mine. Complete with these, got the feed chutes here, some great detail. Feed chutes, got the cooling vents on the side, yeah, very nice. And then it shows you exactly how they should fit onto the wing, like so. Putting on your oil radiator cowling, open or closed. Obviously it shows it open, and that's the angle it should be at. Then we've got this, and I've got to say this is very impressive when I saw it on the stand at Telford. I was convinced when I saw the photos of this that this was made of photo etch, this grill for the tropical filter. And it isn't, it's actually made of plastic, as we'll see in a minute. Anyway, that goes on the side there for this. That's the intake for the supercharger obviously. Feeds the air into the engine, and then you've got the standard one down here at the bottom without the fancy extension. And then over here we've got the actual props, the struts which prop up the open cowling when it's in the open position. And then you've got your main cowling, so you've got the option of having them closed, clammed up together, or of course in that position here where they are butterflied open. And then you get the gun sight. You've got the Revi C12D or the Revi 16B, and this is where you need to be very clear at the beginning of the build which version you're building to get the right gun sight on it. That goes in there. Then you've got your little aerial mast and your rear canopy going on. Then you're fitting your bulletproof armour at the back of and the headrest for the pilot here. I'll zoom in a bit more for that. A bit more zoom wouldn't go amiss, I think. Just to see that in a little bit more detail. There you go. And then you've got your aerial and front windscreen, armour plated windscreen of course. It's actually got the armour plate ahead of it, it's a separate piece which is cool. Popping that in there, and then if you've got the option obviously that's the earlier canopy, the later canopy, and then the more conventional framework canopy here. Popping that on in the open position there. Then we've got our little radio aerial. Can't remember if it's the high frequency or the low frequency, but that goes on there. You've got a couple of little lights to pop on end of the wingtips, and obviously on the rudder there as well. And then we're going to build up our boss for our propeller, spinner propellers themselves here, and then we rejoin. We're missing, slightly damaged, see it, all ripped. We've got the, so putting the propellers into the boss, putting on the back plate, and then putting on the front mounting like so. And then you've got your actual, I say front mounting, it's part of the spinner, it's in two pieces. And you've got the spinner tip here, complete with obviously the shaft has got the cannon firing through it, remember, in this aircraft. So it's actually a big flying cannon at the front. And also your option, you put your prop and your spinner on, and then you've got your optional drop tank goes on there as well. And then finally, the masks, the pre-cut mask layout, which is, yeah, this is what we're talking about. Now, I have to say to you, I don't think you're going to have too many problems on this canopy, the conventional, the framework canopy. Maybe be careful with the one more curved one, but I think it's probably going to be alright actually on this one. And then you've also got this masking for the rear panel, and the head armour, and the marine antenna aerial, and your tail wheel. So there we go. That is your instructions. So far so good. Now I've got to say, I think those are the best Airfix instructions I have ever seen. Yeah, ever seen. Apart from the fact that mine are rather beaten up, which is a bit unfortunate. I'm sure they didn't deliberately send me a beaten up version, but that's just been badly handled for sure. Now, plastic time. Let's have a look at the plastic, shall we? Now this is these rather random bags that are very randomly sealed. A bit of a lack of consistency here in India, I think, from Airfix. Airfix's subcontractor. Let's start with this one, and I will actually put them back later for the sake of speed. So we're going to start with K. Now this. I've got to say, the plastic looks really nice. This does look the same as I saw at Telford, so that's good news. So this is this sort of darker, sort of a dark sea grey almost coloured plastic. And here we've got bits of you've got the tail wheel opening aperture there. You've got the masts. You've got that's the breather for the tank, for the fuel tank. And we've got bits of the engine bearers here. Some of the pivot points for the opening of the flaps. Is it? I think it is. But some beautiful parts that are very, very clean, sharply moulded, just like I saw at Telford. No surprises, no nasty surprises so far. Then on this is interesting. Now have a good look at this. I'm going to hold this a bit longer. So this is these filters I told you about. Now painted up right, they are really well moulded, and they actually do look like, I thought it was photo etch when I saw the first photos. Really can be, with a bit of highlighting, that can be made very, very nice. Beautiful moulding there. And you've got your stick here for the pilot. Here's the standard intake for the non-tropical filter. And again, almost Tamiya-like some of the moulding quality in terms of the tooling. I do like it. I do like it a lot. It looks significantly better than what we're used to. This is the sort of pivoting mouth that you get on the tropical filter at the front of it, which looks brilliant. Yeah, I like it a lot. So that's that one. So far, I've got to say it's for Indian production, from Airfix's Indian factory. I'm thinking this is as good as I've seen so far. Let's hope it continues and don't get me hopes up too much. Obviously we did have a bit of trouble with the old Stalwart, didn't we? Stalwart, people keep telling me off. I keep saying Stalwart, I'm saying Stalwart, damn you! Oh, I'll get it right in the end. Right, next one. And we've got, I do wish they'd be more consistent with these bags though, they're still too big and they're just haphazardly sealed. you know, there's no sort of method or system of sealing them consistently like you get with other manufacturers. It seems like to me. I also need to get the new blade in my knife, I think. It's getting a bit past its best. Actually, I'm not. Only cutting the excess bit of bag rather than the bag itself there. Good grief, here all day. Come on. It's just awkward, you know? I do wish they'd stop this. Anyway, wings. Well, I hate to say this, but that is very warped. Very warped. That's not like the one I saw at Telford at all. Okay, here we go. Can you see what I mean? That's really warped. It's got this, it almost looks like a seagull. Can you see that? I wasn't expecting that. That's not good, I'm afraid. I looked at it and thought, oh, this is gorgeous. Then as soon as I tilted it, I thought, why is it that shape? I really would have hoped, after what happened with the Stalwart, that Airfix might have just checked and made sure that the kit they sent to me was going to be a good one, because we had a very, very poor example, probably the worst anybody saw. I think I was very unlucky. And then they sent me a... That doesn't look right at all. What's happened to this? Have a look at this from the back. What do you think? The whole sprue is very badly warped, and it shouldn't be, should it? I mean, the part is warped, yeah? That's disappointing. That's not like the part. I took out and photographed those parts at Telford. Didn't look like that, not the one I examined that Airfix had on. That sprue is disappointing, so that's a black mark straight away. I hope it's not going to turn into another Stalwart. I was joking, I thought that's just not possible. Okay, well, this one looks alright. Still a bit of warpage, but I don't think it's going to affect it. Yeah, is it? I'm getting really nervous already. Why didn't they just make it in the UK? I know the answer is cost and maybe capacity, but sorry, that sprue's crap. So I'm going to be writing to Dale. Yeah, absolute state of that. I don't even know why. That's been pulled out. Sprue of the. This is at the, I think this is not packaging or anything else. This is at the point of moulding. Somebody's yanked this out. This reminds me of the Meng Fokker triplane. Sorry to go back and harp on, but look at it. It's just me and my flat out hand. But look at the state of that. Is that good enough? Is that good enough? I don't think it is. I think that's crap. I'm surprised that they didn't learn the mistake, learn the lessons of what happened with the Stalwart. Send me a good one, because I'm not going to lie about it. Okay, now the engine. Here we've got the engine exhaust exits here from the engine, which looks fine. Looks very nice, in fact. I'm going to tell things exactly as they are. Yeah, good, bad, or indifferent. This is a warp sprue as well. If I just hold it, look, sorry, zoom back. If I just hold it, you can see the warpage here. But I don't think it's going to have any critical impact on the parts in the way that that wing is, which is just bent in two different directions. We've got the flaps here, and we've got the main spar. This wing, there's a bit of warpage, but nothing. I don't think it's going to cause a problem. That it's not as good as I would like. When you see it again, when you see it like this, it's a bit rough, isn't it? But yeah, it's nice moulding. Tooling's very, very good. I am sure that is operator error. I'm sure of it. Been yanked out in the mould by someone, again, doesn't care, doesn't know what they're doing. The other side, because this is like a duplicate, almost a duplicate, not quite the same. It's got the plate here for the bottom of the fuselage, which is nice, and the detail here is beautiful. Beautiful. Yeah. Yeah, that sprue's alright. It's still a bit bent, a little bit warped, but not that's going to cause an issue. All the parts look good. Bit of guidance there. Can't see any problems though. I think it's okay. Yep, okay, we'll give that a pass. So, I must say, this is not going to be a 10 out of 10 straight away. We know there's issues with the masks, which I'll talk about another day. But unforgivable quality, I've now got zero tolerance for it, and I'm sure that a lot of the viewers that are watching this feel the same way. We've had enough of it, Airfix. We've had enough of it. You haven't got control over the process. You haven't got control over the process when you are bringing out something that looks like that on your premium super kit, which is 100 quid. That is abysmal. Sorry, the only word I can use. Try not to lose my rag here, but that's just ridiculous. I mean, it looks like it's been run over by a bus. It hasn't been damaged. That is operator error. Someone has just yanked that out of the mould that doesn't know what they're doing. And that is just, that's why you've got a classic bit of warpage. I'm worried now. I am seriously worried that lessons have not been learned, which I find surprising, all things considered. So, let us continue. Keep an open mind, the rest might be perfect. I really, really hope so. I wanted this to be good. The example that Dale handed me at Airfix was at Telford was perfect. I didn't say anything like that, nothing at all. You can see the photographs I took. Make your own mind up. Is that supposed to be? See again. Look. Here's the sprue, and the actual seal is up here. So you've got all this play for it to fly about. Yeah. Now, granted, it's in a fairly tight box, but it's just not necessary, is it? The bags are not suitable. They're too big. This one has been sealed better. At least it's not just. This has some care in the way it's been done, but it's in a very strange place. I'm getting a bit nervous now. It's got the. Let's just carry on. I'm not going to comment. Let's just see what we've got again. Warpage. Warpage? Well, yeah, we've got a warp sprue there. Why is it warped? This has just come from the courier. Yeah, why is that warped? Any warpage like that is generated normally at the point of removal from the injection moulder. Don't think that's going to give you actually a problem on this though. It's when we have really big parts like fuselages and wings that we're in trouble. Let's have a closer look. So, we've got the two options here, the open or the closed, and I've got to say the moulding and the tooling on this is lovely. This is exactly what I saw at Telford, without the warp, I must say. And you've got your machine guns over here, which look very nice. Let's go back a bit on the zoom there. And then you've got various trim wheels. I mean, the parts are beautiful, there's no flash. It's very clean moulding, you know. The tooling's good. And then over on this side, obviously, we've got our instrument panel. And the mounting plate that, I think this is the mounting plate on the bulkhead for the, where the engine's going to go. And this is the other side, this is when you have them closed, I think. Does it have a difference? Well, I've got to say, I didn't notice this at Telford either, but there's ejector pin marks on the back of the engine cowlings. Can you see that? More here. Yeah, ejector pin marks here. 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 That's very unfortunate when you're going to have it open. I really would have expected not to see that. Just a minute, I just thought of something. Let's see something else. Just bear with me a second, folks. I did. I've just remembered. It's just come up my mind. I just thought, did I see that somewhere else? We've also got them on the back of the flaps. In the flaps, quite a lot of ejector pin marks, to be honest. Can you see that? In the flaps. You'll need to take care of that. Now they're only shallow, so I think a bit of a rub with the sanding stick, you might get rid of it. Maybe a touch of filler might be required, but I'm a bit disappointed to see that, really. Because they know they're going to be open, so you're going to see them, aren't you? Yeah? So, there's another point lost. Or a quarter of a point, perhaps. I start off with such high hopes, just like I did with the Stalwart, and I'm already starting to see things which I didn't spot at Telford, but some of them, like the warping, some of them weren't there at Telford in that warping. I'm sorry, but come on, it's absolutely absurd. That has not been quality control checked. And again, we're going back to this thing about quality control with Airfix. It's there, isn't it? The issue remains, you know. Anyway, that's that one. Then we have got, let's pop that back in for a second, because we've then got our clear parts now. When I looked at Telford, they were stunningly good, so I'm praying that this is the same. Please, just put me down. I mean, it's really nice that Dale sends me a kit at no charge to review. You'd think that they would check it first and not send out something like that. Well, I am pleased to tell you that there don't appear to be any issues here at all. Phew. Here we go. And that is really, really nice clear parts. It almost makes me question whether this was done in India. Perhaps I'm being a bit cynical by saying that, but they almost seem too good. Are you sure this wasn't done by ICM or Tamiya? Because those are really nice, actually. I can't even see any meaningful distortion, really. Even on things like the windscreens, there's no great distortion. The Erler canopy there, that's beautiful, isn't it? Yeah, I really like it. Now remember what I said about, ironically it was tooled in the UK, the Spitfire, which was tooled at Plastech in the UK. The one thing that really let it down, I thought, I didn't think that the clear parts were very good. These are perfect. These are perfect, I think. I can't fault it. I can't fault it. I can't fault it. The clear parts are beautiful. It's funny, isn't it? You know. It's such a mixed bag every time. That's what I can't get my head around. Let's put that back in there. Right, so that's that one. Just one. Take that out there. I want that to be handy, so let's have that here. Horrible wing, which is terrible. Upper wing. Shockingly bad, that. I mean, that's like, we had sink on the Stalwart, now we've got warpage. The clear parts, you know, credit where it's due, those clear parts. 10 out of 10, actually. Seriously, 10 out of 10. That's as nice a clear parts as I've seen. It's ICN standard. Brilliant. Now the engine. No great warpage. Still not perfect. They're yanking these out. I can tell. There's a bit of a trend. This is the better one though. But look at the engine. This looks really nice. Yeah, and we've got the supercharger here, compressor, and all the exhausts. And I think here they have learned a lesson, Airfix, because if you remember I was a bit critical on the Spitfire because they went and moulded the exhaust stubs with the contact point of the sprue right in the centre of where the actual seam line is on the real aircraft, on the actual exhaust pipe, which wrecked it and made it very difficult. So this time they've actually put them on the end. Now it does mean, I say that, I'll see a bit more, it does mean that you've got a bit of a clean up. But it's not like on a seam or anything, it's not going to destroy anything. It's not ideal. I do question why they couldn't have had it the other way around and had the actual contact point on the inboard side, because that's not ideal. It does require definite amounts of clean-up. If they'd have just done it the other way around, see what I'm saying, it would have made more sense. There must be something to do with the position of the tool or something. I mean, they're looking at that, it's like it's slide moulded because it's got this bridge over it, so I'm presuming they slide moulded it. But, or am I wrong? Which way is which? No, this is the inboard side. This is the bit that contacts the engine. And it is slide molded. It's actually hollow. It can't be. This is. We've got a sink mark there. Is that a sink mark? Is that a mounted hole that's supposed to be there? Sorry. Just noticed this. What looks like a sink mark. Can you see that? Could be a deliberate hole though. But that's definitely the exit. When you look at the shape. Let's get this tilted. The exhaust shape. That where the actual contact of the sprue is, that is definitely the exit, isn't it? So that you got to clean up, yeah? You have to clean it up. It's not as problematic as trying to, clean up something that wrecks a seam. It's just a bit unfortunate. They couldn't have done it the other way around. I don't know really. It's almost as though they've slide moulded the wrong end to me. Do you see what I'm saying? It's as though this is definitely the inboard part of the exhaust stub. Exhaust pipe, but they seem to have slide moulded that bit. I wonder if they've made a mistake here. I need somebody to explain this. I think maybe I'll contact Dale and ask him. Can you explain the design of these exhaust stubs? Because to me, it's as though they think that when they've actually tooled it up, that's the exhaust exit, which it isn't. Yeah, that's the exit. This is the exit here. You can tell by the shape, can't you? Look at the exhaust shape carefully. Yeah? So that's clearly the exit of the exhaust. And yet that's a lot more, I just don't understand that. I don't understand why it's got the open end on the inside, which you don't need. It's never going to be seen in a million years. This is where it needed to be clean. I think they've gone and designed it the wrong way around. That is the impression I have. That is the impression I have. They've slide moulded it, but the concept isn't correct. It should be the other way around. Sure of it. Anyway, moving on. We've got the compressor here, which is really, really nice. All the various parts. You've got the cooling jacket at the front. You've got your main block here. Good detail. Cylinder heads here. Very nice. Puzzled by that exhaust though, that's definitely got me baffled. Then you've got your little coolant tanks here, which I mentioned earlier in the instructions, and then you've got various other components, and you've got compressors and the magnetos, and then you've got these cooling pipes. And the coolant pipes, they've done this really, really well. Then you've got your injectors here, fuel injectors. That's beautiful. Here's your plenum chamber, which I mentioned earlier, that comes from the supercharger, feeds the air into each cylinder. And then again you've got some more pipes for your coolant here. Wiring in coolant, fuel lines, etc. That sprue is brilliant actually, that's a really good sprue, one of the best. But this thing about the exhausts, sorry, but I'm pretty sure that somebody has got the concept back to front there and they've made a mistake, I'm sure of it. Right, that's that one. Now, fuselage. Don't let me down, Airfix. Please don't let me down on this. I mean, I'm going to say to you that is so bad. I don't think I'd want to build something that's got such a. I wouldn't want to build one that's got such a horribly warped wing as what you've just seen. That's horrendous. That wing. That's. I'm getting flashbacks and PTSD from the Stalwart all over again. Because it's that bad, it's just, wow, really? How has that left the factory? How could it have left the factory if there was any QC at all? Who would have thought that was alright? I think Airfix has got some... They need to change their approach. They needed to change it some time ago. Right, fuselage. And it looks, well, it's bent. Look at this, warpage again. Warpage. Yeah? It is warped. It is warped. Can you see this? The actual fuselage is warped. It's like all the big parts have got this major warpage where somebody's yanked it out again. Look at it. Look at the angles. I think that's surprising. You see that? So, no doubt somebody be shouting and saying, we're all models, we can overcome this. Yeah, we can, but it's not supposed to be like that. Why should I or you have to overcome terrible quality like that? That's a lack of quality control. Again, how many times have Airfix got to be told this? This is disgraceful. I'm sorry, I'm going to tell it like it is. I don't know how bad that's going. Look, when you see it like that, look at. Can you see this? See, my hand is flat. I'm not making it warp in any way. Look at this. It's every big part. They don't know how to handle the big parts. They're treating them like they're, I don't know, buckets or something. So look at that. I hold it by the centre bit of sprue. So I'm having no influence over it whatsoever. There you go. And the other side, it's the same. But, I mean, the actual surface quality, there's no flash. This is the basics of quality control. The design, on this kit, the design is good, apart from this exhaust thing, which I'm a bit unsure about. But the design seems to be really good. Apart from that, it's arguable, and it's probably not a big deal at the end of the day. This is a bigger deal, though. This is... All the hard work's been done by the designer, the box art designer, the instructions designer. Everybody's done their job well. And then some fool in the factory in India who doesn't give a monkeys and just thinks they've just got to pull these out. And that's the result. That's the result. That is classic 101 quality fail. I'm sorry. So that's dismal as well. So the top wing and the fuselages are all warped. I don't think it's good enough. I'm really cross now because how many times can you keep saying the same thing? You know, what was it Einstein said? The definition of insanity is to keep repeating the same thing over and over and expecting a different result. I don't see any change here. I don't see any move forward. I don't see improvement in the quality from Airfix. It's appalling. I mean, look at it. Like a bloody banana. This is nothing like the example he handed me at Telford, which was perfect. I took the photos of it. It was lovely. Anyway, that's all I've got to say about that. I don't want to say anything I'll regret. I'm not the type. Try and be professional about it, but that is very, very bad. So, I'm just astonished, really. I'm almost lost for words. I'm going to be having a very instant email with Dale. And you'll have to stomach this video because it's the facts. You can see me opening the bags. It's just arrived 20 minutes before I started recording. And this is what we got. Now, it's so brilliant in so many areas. When I left Telford, and this is the God's truth, when I left Telford, even on the Saturday, I thought it's going to be the kit of the year. Airfix have nailed it. They've got it this time. They're going to have kit of the year. By some measure, no they aren't. No, they aren't. There are too many. No, we've got issues with the blooming mask set. We've got issues with the actual moulding itself. They've admitted some of the decals that should be there. I'm sorry, I'm telling you now, it won't be kit of the year for me. Why? Why are they falling at these fences that are so easy to fix? They told me. Dale told me he'd fix the quality. He said that they'd gone and put in things. Oh, sorry, I'm ranting. Stop. Just carry on with the review. Jesus. Turning into a rant. Not at all what was envisaged. I thought this was going to be an Airfix loving, to be quite honest, this review. This is a beautiful sprue, this one actually, it's lovely. All the instrumentation here. Yeah, you've got your where your pedals go, your foot plates for the pedals. Right, there's the... Is it foot plates for the pedals? Yeah, I think so. Back of the cockpit. Obviously the rudders here. Really nice. Then you get your tail, basically your tail here. Vertical stabiliser. Very nice. Nothing wrong with that one, thank goodness. So that's okay. It's all the big parts. It's almost like... It makes you wonder if it's the same person that's been responsible, doesn't it? Right, and then over here we've got the horizontal stabiliser and the elevators. And... Oh, okay, they're two-sided. I didn't expect that. Okay, that's fine. And you've got your horizontal stabilisers there. And here you've got your... Oh yes, this is the chin radiator, underneath the cowling underneath the engine. Here's the tip engine cowling at the front just before you get to the spinner. I mean, this is beautiful. This is nice sprue. This is like I saw at Telford. Some of these are fine, you know. I looked at Telford and I thought the design is good. I have a really positive feeling about this, so I'm afraid that has now evaporated because of bad quality. You can't keep on doing this, Airfix. You're going to make yourselves a laughing stock in the industry now. How is it ICM can pump out kits in the middle of a war, being hit by aggressors' missiles overnight, taking out half of their factory? And Airfix, who hasn't got any of those issues, cannot get the basics right. Why are they not checking this? They just don't have any quality control. I'm sorry, they can't have. Even the bag's not sealed properly. Actually, I'm quite grateful because the blades get a bit worn. Yeah, so this is the drop tank. Obviously, the ventral drop tank looks very, very nice. And you've got your mounting pallet here as well. This is a nice sprue. Yes, this is like I saw at Telford. This is what it should be like. That's nice. Where it's good, it's very, very good. And where it's bad, it's horrid. To quote from a nursery rhyme. Here are your gondola cannons, 20mm gondola cannons, complete with the gun barrels, are they? Oh yes, now the slide mould of these, that's been done nicely, look. There you go, look at those muzzles. Fantastic. That I like. Yes! And you've got the actual mechanism here of the cannon itself. There it is, complete with the feeder chute. Lovely, lovely, lovely. Like that. Then we've got the sprue with the propeller and the blades. Those are nice, actually. Those are nice. Seem to have got some horrible flashes crept in here. Can you see that? That's odd. Didn't expect that to suddenly appear. Can you see that? Yeah. Nasty flash indeed. It's very unpleasant, that is. Strange. But the boss is nice, propeller boss. And then you've got this kind of an insert. I don't know why they've done that particularly. For what reason? For what reason? Why have they added that complication of having this insert in the back of the base of the prop? It's not like they've done it to avoid the sprue gate contact point, because it's right there. And then, I don't know. And then you've got the tip of the nose with the cannon firing through it. And then last but not least, because it is the last sprue, and that is the wheels and tyres. Now these are really lovely, I've got to say. Weight on wheels. It's very subtle weight on wheels, but if you look very carefully you can see the bulging. You see that bulging? That's really, really nicely done. There's this option of the two different types of tread. Is it 2 or 3? 1, 2, yeah, it's 2. So you've got the lighter tread here, whoops, or the more groove tread here. Now that they've done beautifully. The wheel hubs, again, gorgeous. And the legs. And then you've got your that's your tail wheel leg. I hope these legs are beefy. They look pretty beefy in fairness. I hope they're going to be strong enough. They do look fairly substantial, don't they? I know that they're hollow. There's no metal. There's no metal parts though, is there? No, no. So whether that's intended to be so you can put, I don't know, metal in it or something, it's a bit strange. Unless I think it makes it stronger. Can you see what I mean? It's hollowed out there. Yeah, hollow. It's just seems a bit strange. And again here, hollowed. Well, there we go. It's very hard to know what to say, isn't it? Because I saw it at Telford and the example that he showed me was perfect. This isn't. Again. It's baffling. It's baffling. Can't they understand they need to check before they send it out to someone who's going to publicly review and judge the kit? And it's not just me, there's lots of others. I hope others have not gotten even worse than me, because that's abysmal. In places, those fuselages and the top wing is abysmal. That is just the worst quality control. No quality control at all. I am shocked beyond belief, because I really thought this was going to be absolutely epic. I saw it and I privately thought, well, you know, I've since heard about this thing, because obviously Phil Flory have made it public. It's not my story, it's his story. About the issue with the decals. And there is an issue with the decals. There is an issue. Shall I show you? I'll show you now. Tell you what, let's do that. Very, very quickly though, because I don't want to be here all day and I don't want people to get upset. What we got, this is some testing I did. Now here's the thing, I work for 3 of the leading manufacturers in the world that make self-adhesive products, so I know what I'm talking about. And on top of that, I work for the leading, the second global, in second place, not the leading, the second biggest manufacturer of release liners, the backing liner that you take your masking off. Yeah, the bit you throw away. I work for them as well, so I really do know about these things. So let's just have a quick look, shall we? What I did was... Now, you don't see my finger. Right, here we go. So this is, I took the Airfix Lysander masks and I put them on some ICM Marauder. Similar sort of parts in terms of shape. Some of them were flat surfaces here, as you can see. So I was very fair, I put it on the flat surfaces. I'm not trying to make Airfix failure, I'm just trying to be completely objective. And then I put some on the slightly curved surfaces, but not on the very curved bit. That would be unfair, I think. So I put it on these surfaces, and this is what happened. I put them down, they're all fine, okay? Come back a bit, you'll see that. They're all fine, so this is when I started to do it. So I put them down, and then I hung them up, and I didn't touch them again. Now this is interesting. Look at this picture, because on the left is the Airfix product. This is the Cartograph manufactured product, of course. Airfix don't manufacture it themselves. But look at it, look how less opaque it is. That's because it's thinner. And on the right, that is a bit of Tamiya tape, which is kabuki tape like most people use. Now remember this, keep that in your mind, it's thinner, it's definitely thinner. Now, speaking with the experience I have from the self-adhesives industry, which is very significant, okay, so I am the right person to ask, I reckon, without actually calipering it up, but I reckon it's about 20-25% thinner than the Tamiya tape is. Now that isn't a problem, there's nothing wrong with that. That should actually help its conformability even more. It's when it's thicker it's more likely to ping up, okay? So I thought, well that's odd. It's thinner. If it was thicker I'd be thinking maybe it's too thick and it's got rigidities. Memory's making it pop up after a day or two. But no, it's actually got something that should be in its favour. So that's your Tamiya tape on the right, and that's your Airfix Cartograph on the left. Now, let's look at these photographs. This is like 24 hours later. Let's just flick through them. And you can see, as Phil Flory told everybody, he's quite right, I'm getting exactly the same results that he got. Have a look at this. So, I say, this has not been done to set up to fail. This has been done a fair test, and I have got experience in this area. This is what's happening. You can see it lifting. You can see that. And you can see it there, very much lifting. Very much lifting off. This is 24 hours later. really, really lifting off. Now it's not on the tight radius, despite that the angle doesn't really show it. Not quite as bad on this piece, but if you look very carefully at some of these pictures, you can see it there, really obviously lifting off. Now on here it's fine. This is on the sort of front windscreen, which is a bit flatter, not as extreme a bend. Now this is the very important photograph that you need to bear in mind, because this is the Tamiya tape as a test, put on at the same time, and if anything on even more curvature, and it's fine. Okay, so you can see what Phil Flory was saying about this is quite correct. There it is, that's the test sample, so that's absolutely fine. But the thinner, which should be even better, not worse, from Cartograph Airfix is worse. Now look at this carefully. Look at the actual appearance of the tape, how it's darker in the middle. That's where it's in contact with the actual plastic. And the more opaque and more yellow around the outside is where it's lifted. So you can see how it's only about 50% contacting. Now, more examples of it there. You can see that where it's darker is where it's still in contact, and then there we are. Okay, so I'm going to give you my conclusion. I'm not going to do a separate video about this and a big thumbnail, clickbait thumbnail, which other people would do. I'm just going to tell it like it is, because now I thought I didn't want to pollute this. I thought it was going to be a really good story here, and it hasn't turned out quite as well as I expected. And it's part of the same problem. It's quality control, lack of. Not testing things properly, not checking things properly. Here's the thing, apparently, I am told, and I am, allegedly, I'm quoting here, but I understand what Dale said to Phil Flory from what he was telling everyone, was that it's because you didn't clean it properly, or you haven't done it right, and all this. Well, you can clearly see that the Tamiya is fine. You can also see it's thinner. You can see by the lack of opacity that it's a bit thinner, but that should help it. There's only one conclusion. There's two things I noticed. I've actually got the bits here, the little bits left of the of the Tamiya and the Airfix stroke Cartograph mask. Here's the rest of it here, look. So in summary, I can tell you what's wrong with this. It's nothing to do with the actual paper. I didn't really like the paper. You can see ghosting of die strike. Die strike is sometimes when you get too heavy a cut and it goes into the backing paper. But it isn't that. It's almost like where it's been wound up. I think it's got the impression, because it's so thin, it's not very strong, if you know what I mean. But that doesn't actually have a negative for its conformability. It's actually a benefit. It's not a negative. So that leads us to the obvious conclusion that the tack of the adhesive is inferior to what you get elsewhere. Edouard, Tamiya tape, Tamiya tape, whatever. And I can tell you, just you can do it yourself. Just touch it and compare it to Tamiya tape. It's not as tacky, and it doesn't have the tack. It doesn't have the grip. They've got quick tack in the industry. Quick tack isn't there. It's not the same performance. It's like a low release, which it has to be, but it's too low. It's too low. I am telling you from a career in the business that it's not right. Now, I'm not I'm not trying to put the knife into Airfix. I'm not. They've failed again here of their own making. I'm sorry. I think people will be horrified when they see that. I just can't believe this has happened again. But this is easy to fix, I think. They just need to go back to Cartograph and say, guys, here's the thing. You can make it work. It will work. If you put these down, I mean, obviously the Lysander, that what Phil was using, has got a lot of windows. But if you use it straight away and push it down well, like I did, and then you spray it within 2 or 3 hours, you should be okay. But if you leave it any longer than that, on anything that's very conformable, it's going to start pinging up, and that's the problem. So you can use it on the flatter areas. I think it's absolutely fine. As you saw my test on flatter areas, it didn't come up at all. It's the tack. It just doesn't have enough tackifier in the adhesive, basically. The quick tack's inferior, and it just feels less tacky, and that's it. So I think that they need to go back to Cartograph Airfix and say, can you just get the Tamiya tape and say, right, it needs to have the same tack as this, all right? Being thinner, I don't think is an issue. It's the adhesive that's the problem. No question. So that's the same problem again. We haven't done the research properly. We haven't checked what other people are doing, like with the flash stickers. We haven't market tested it, and we haven't done, and we're blaming the, it's user error, operator error. No, it isn't actually. Remember, as Phil Flory pointed out, actually, one of the members took a photograph on Airfix's own stand of them peeling up. These very ones that are in my hand, peeling up on the Lysander canopies on the stand on the Saturday, I think it was. So that proves that it's nothing to do with Phil Flory. It's nothing to do with what I've done or anybody else has done. It's just not going to perform well on curved surfaces. And it's an adhesive issue. I believe it's adhesive. It's not the backing. It's not the substrate, the face paper. It's the adhesive. It just isn't tacky enough. It's probably a low tack acrylic adhesive, almost certainly. But the level of tack is too low, and they need to modify it. And if they do that, it'll be fine. And if you want to put it on the 109, I think it's going to be less of an issue. It's probably on the spinner you might get into trouble, so make sure you, if you don't buy an aftermarket, I don't want to say that. We don't want, that's the whole point of having this. We don't want aftermarket. But if you use it on that, spray it straight away. You'll probably be alright. I don't think it'll be, within an hour or two, you'll be fine. But you can't stick that on and leave it for a day or two and then come back and spray it. You can have a disaster, I'm afraid. It won't seal, it won't mask. So, where are we then? So I thought I'd decided, I don't want to do another video about it where I look like I'm putting a knife into Airfix. I'm not. I heard there was a problem and I thought, well, I'm not going to take sides between Phil Flory and Airfix. Why don't I just test it? Bearing in mind my background, the companies I've worked for are the world leaders in this area. And I'm sorry, but based on just a few minutes working with it, once I saw it peel after 24 hours and then feeling the tack, and I could tell it wasn't as tacky, and I thought, well, this doesn't bode well. I mean, having it thinner, if they increase the tack, it'll be sorted, I'm sure, because it'll conform well because it's thin. Thinner substrates conform well generally because they've got less rigidity, but they just haven't done the homework. So Airfix have accepted what Cartograph have come up with, and it doesn't feel to me, I don't know what the process is, I'm going to ask Dale, but it doesn't feel to me like enough research has been done again. And as for this, where are we? I say what I'm going to say now with a very, very heavy heart. I was convinced here we had kit of the year 2025. That isn't going to happen. That has failed. It probably wouldn't get 10 out of 10. It wouldn't get 10 out of 10 even if we hadn't got those two quality issues, which I'll mention again in a second. The masking and the swastikas is an irritation. It couldn't get 10 out of 10 with both those issues. The masking can probably be cured. Not overnight, of course, but it could be cured longer term. If people disagree with me, I suggest you go to Avery Dennison, I used to work for, and maybe ask them to do some testing for you. Or you can go to the labs or Pyra, someone like that will do testing for you. You'll find out I'm correct. It is a problem with the adhesive. That's what your issue is with your masks, so that's one thing. But how can Airfix let this go out of that factory in India again after the disaster of the Stalwart, and we have the flagship model where everybody's enthusiastic, including me. I've been saying to people, it's fantastic. If it's as good as it was at Telford, we have a winner. It's not as good as it was at Telford, is it? We've got a completely warped fuselage and a warped top wing so bad I think it's going to give issues. And it's just not good enough. It's not good enough. And I am sick and tired of saying, well, it's Airfix, well, it's the British home team. No, I'm not interested. It's not really the British home team, is it? It's being manufactured in India, and that's exactly where the problems are. If it was British, if that was made at Plastech, we'd have kit of the year on our hands, I think. With some proper masks and, maybe a few swastikas. But the swastika thing wouldn't stop it getting kit of the year. I wouldn't be that unfair to them. But I still think there's a case to answer there. But the quality is unforgivable. I can forgive them the swastikas. I can even forgive them for the mask. They're trying and they're doing the right things. Responding to what people want. But it's the same issue again and again. It's quality control that's let them down. And it's a fail. So I'm going to give it... Now, okay, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to go back to Dale. I'm going to say, Dale, I want you to replace... And I want you to personally inspect, and I mean personally inspect, the parts you send me. I don't want it to come from anybody else. I want it to be on your desk and be convinced it's perfect. And I want those fuselages replacing that sprue and the sprue with the top wing on. If that was perfect, I think it's a 9.5 out of 10. As it stands, 8.5. Is that right? 8.5. Well, it's poor, isn't it? It needs a lot. You're going to have to work on that to try. And then you've got this strange thing with this design of those exhausts, which I didn't spot. I must admit, I didn't spot that at Telford. I was under a lot of time pressure. Didn't spot the problem. Not a major problem. Not a major problem. And again, that wouldn't stop it getting 10. Little irk. It's another little irk, you know. But I'd love to understand the actual design philosophy that's gone into that, because I'm sure they've thought about what they wanted to do and they've done it the wrong way around. They've actually had them facing the wrong way around. Anyway, there we go. So I think it's 8.75 out of 10, which is grossly disappointing to me. I was convinced it was going to be 9.75 to 10. I was convinced it was. Now we've had the issue come up with the masks, which I knew nothing about at Telford. So that's the first problem. The swastikas, as I say, I can forgive them that. I don't agree with it. I say I can forgive them. I don't mean I can forgive them. I mean I wouldn't punish them and knock it down a point for that. I wouldn't. But I still think it's something they need to address. I think it's going to be an ongoing irritation for people. If you don't want to do those subjects, don't do those subjects. That's the way around it, I suppose. You've done a beautiful design. Fantastic instructions. The best I've ever seen, I think. The best instructions I think I've ever seen. And then you've let it down with the easiest thing of all. Sloppy QC. Nobody's checked. You've sent it out to a YouTuber who's going to review it. Someone you know will tell the truth and be absolutely brutally honest. And you've sent it out in that state again. Which is what happened with the Stalwart. It's bitterly disappointing. And I think, you know, an apology is deserved to me. You know, I mean, I didn't pay for it, so I'm not getting my high horse here, but come on. You've sent that out. That is what people now think they're going to get, and that will put people off the product. What are you thinking of? Why hasn't it been checked properly? There's a case to answer. I say apology. It's not an apology to me personally because I didn't pay for it. But I think that a statement should be made about this, and God forbid that they're all like that. How do I keep getting such awful examples? Is it a test to see if I say anything? You can't miss that. You can't not say anything when you see the wing like a seagull's wing. What the hell were they thinking of? I'm very disappointed. Very disappointed indeed. Any manufacturer coming out with that, that's like trumpeter quality from sort of 10, 15 years ago. Oof. And yet, where it's good, like I said, it's like Goldilocks, isn't it? Where it's good, it's very, very good. And where it's bad, it's horrid, you know. It's not good. It's not good in places. But the design is, apart from those exhausts, the design is brilliant. The clear parts are the best I've ever seen Airfix do. Probably the best clear parts of the year. And they've let themselves down with such a stupid thing that ruins it. So I'm going to ask Dale to replace those parts. And if they are replaced, I will re-review it. It's not going to be a 10, but it should be back in the mid-9s, you know, because that's where it belongs. They've done such a lot of work on this. The artwork, the instructions, the clear parts, the mould design, all really well done. And then they let it down because they can't get control of this blinking factory in India again. How long is it going to go on for? People are going to vote with their feet, and I think this is what makes me send it to a rant. And this was never the intention of this video. I was thinking, come on, DPD driver, come on, give it to me. It's the kit of the year. I've got to have it. Give it to me now. And he was like, blimey, you know, okay. And then I opened it, and there's slightly weird packaging where it's got a few creases. And well, maybe it's just bad handling. Yeah, but it's bad handling, I think, now. It's probably in India. I just cannot understand. I almost give up now, really. Why have Airfix sent it to me if they haven't got any kind of check and confidence it's going to be good? Because they haven't checked it, have they? So they've got no confidence. It's just been randomly sent out. It could be anybody. I mean, I wonder if other people are going to get even worse examples than that. It's possible, isn't it? The same problem is abroad in that factory. It's not being checked. People don't give a monkeys about it. It's not understood how important it is, and it's just carrying on. And this is why everybody said, me included, I said, oh no, they won't risk going to India for this. It'll be done in Plastech in New Haven, I'm sure. And I said at the show, I said to two people, you're right, I'm wrong, it's actually India. And they went, and I was saying, no, it'll be fine, I've seen the sprues, they're beautiful, beautiful. Well, the ones that Airfix had, yeah, I don't know whether that was selected from like 20. I mean, it probably wasn't. This is the problem. They get a good one. They think they're all good. I think you need to change your procedure. Don't think you need to. You do need to. Lots of people watching this will be fuming with frustration, you know. And I'm not interested in any fanboys, and it's the same with any other manufacturer. You know, if ICM were producing this sort of quality all the time, I would just be disassociating myself. But they don't. They're in a war, and they can produce beautiful kits every time. I just don't think it's forgivable. I don't think it's excusable anymore, and that's where I'm at. So this has turned into a mega rant, entirely of Airfix's making, and I am just shocked. I just don't know what else to say. I'm going to leave it at that, I think. I'll let you decide. Yeah, it was going so well. Those clear parts are so perfect. And then there's just it's just a lottery. Like I've said before, it's like a lottery. I mean, let's face it, when I complained about the Stalwart, which was a bit of a disaster, quite a lot of a disaster, I wasn't the only one, was I? Jason from Model Kit Stuff, he was even more brutal about it. I was sent a replacement kit, and even that had issues. Again, a second kit. Not the same issues, different ones. And it just hasn't been checked properly. And I was told it'd been checked, and it clearly wasn't checked properly, was it? I don't understand it. Why send it to me if you're not sure it's going to be okay? It defeats the object, really. Baffled. Anyway. It'll feature in the top 10 of kits of the year, I'm sure, because there's such quality in the design and so much effort's gone into such a lot of it. But the chances of it winning are nil. So I just manage everybody's expectations. So that makes my job a bit easier, because there's no chance I could give that kit of the year after that box opening performance. It can get a higher score though if those parts can be replaced quickly, because my patience and tolerance is just gone with this, really. I keep hoping it's going to be better next time, and it'll be. I even said, didn't I? I even said in my recent announcement video, I said, I think lessons have been learned. That won't happen again, and it has happened again. It's disgraceful. I think that Airfix should be bloody ashamed of themselves to have produced that again. So my question to them was, when are they going to be able to guarantee us a quality product? Because at the moment it's just like a lucky dip. Some people might get a perfect one and they'll think it's absolutely marvellous. Like the one I saw at Telford, which was absolutely gorgeous. I wasn't just fawning in front of Dale, he gave me a perfect example. That's why I took all the pictures. It was lovely. I thought, oh, yes, they've nailed it this time. No, they haven't. That's the trouble. You don't know what you're going to get. It goes out in the market and we get a load of shoddy ones. This is the whole nucleus of the issue that they've got. We've got the same lack of thoroughness and detailed approach to research and test and have confidence in the product. We've got the same thing there. It's a great principle. Everybody's rooting for you. I was cheerleading for this. Little did I know that when I actually tried to use it, it would give those results. And don't tell me it's because I didn't put it on the Lysander though. We've seen it on Airfix's own stand with the same effect. There is no escape. They are not good enough. Yeah. Come on, Airfix, you're better than this. Dale works very hard. He's had a bit of a tough time this summer as well. It's nothing personal between me and him. I absolutely guarantee you. I'm incredibly grateful that he said, I've got one for you. I've got one for you. I said, thank you very much. Oh, it's fantastic. And I was thinking, this is going to nail it. They're going to get Kit of the Year. They're going to win it at last, from my perspective. And they've blown it again. I just hate this. I wanted them to win. I've got my Airfix mug out in anticipation. It's gone cold now. I think I need a glass of whiskey or a rum and coke or something. I'm really sorry. I apologise if I've come across a bit stroppy, but it's inevitable, isn't it? I think a lot of people watching this will just be in despair, really. Come on now, come on. Airfix have got a crisis on their hands now. They have got to get on top of this. And I don't care what they announce at New Year, they have got to nail this first before, no matter what they announce. The quality is not adequate of their products, and that is a fact. And you are getting such inconsistency in the quality, nobody can have confidence in the product. And I don't want to talk down a British company like this, but they are destroying themselves with this. I just can't understand it. It's frustrating beyond belief. I genuinely want this company to win. I wanted this to win, and I thought it was going to win. I thought it was going to come down at the end of the day between this and the Hamder from ICM, and because of all this stuff like the instructions on this, I thought I'd be a brave man to give it to the Hamden, even though it's going to be amazing. I thought, don't they deserve to win finally? That if it's as good as we saw, they kind of deserve to win on merit. But the reality is, that's what you get when you open the box, and it isn't good enough. It's not going to win. So that's where we're at, I'm afraid. I'm sorry if I come across as stroppy. I apologise to all the fanboys. But the reality is, there is no escape. They either get on top of the quality or they remain stuck with this reputation that they just can't get things right. And it's such a shame. They need to have got this right. And if they continue to use this Indian factory, I'm convinced, it seems to me that they just can't get on top of it. And I don't know. I'm going to ask Dale, before you probably see this video, maybe not before, but I'll certainly write to him very swiftly and tell him I am very disappointed. Why? I'll send him photographs and I'll say, watch the video. I don't know what to say to you. But don't come back and tell me, oh no, it's just that's the only one. I don't believe it. We heard that with the Stalwart, and then lots of other people got terrible ones as well. There were some good ones, but this is the problem. You can't be having a lucky dip and pressing click buy and thinking, oh, it's going to be okay. That's not good enough. I'm sorry. Airfix must do better. So that's where I'm at. 8.5 out of 10. Very, very bitterly disappointed. Really, the disappointment of the year. This is worse than the Stalwart because it cost a lot more money and the expectations were so sky high. And it is so easily fixed if they can just get control of what they should have control of already. And breathe. That's all I have to say on the matter. I'll let others decide what you think. Let's see what other people who review it, see what they get. Oh, it's like a lucky dip, isn't it? I don't get it. You can see exactly what the cause of the problem is. Solve it. Anyway, that's it from me. I'm sorry it turned into a rant. That was never the intention. I am not doing this for clicks. I'm not even going to put rant in the title because that would be wrong. That's not what this was about. But you're going to get a rant if that's what you deliver to the public at that price. It's £100 and you can't be doing that. That's like, that's like Revell quality from 10 years ago at 20-30 quid, not £100. It's not acceptable, and I think that Airfix need to take it on the chin and tell us what they are doing. What are the corrective actions and what guarantees are there that we're going to get a quality product? And all this about, oh well, we'll see if we can get you another spare part, and then we have to wait for 3 months until they do. I mean, I didn't wait that long myself, but I've heard lots of people have with things like the Stalwart and others. This is the problem when you're farming it out to a cheap subcontractor, and this is what we end up with. It's very disappointing. I'm sorry. So that's the biggest disappointment of the year. I thought it was the Stalwart, and I can't believe I'm saying that when I really had such high expectations and real passion for this. I was even saying to people in the chat last week, saying I think it's an absolute winner. I think it's a winner. Just wait till you see my review. Who expected that to be in the box? That's absolutely abysmal. Anyway, over to you, Airfix. Over to you. I mean, you can blank me, you can ignore me, you can blacklist me. It's not going to alter anything. If you want people to give honest reviews, don't send out something in that condition. It's really, really appalling. That's it. Thank you for watching. I'm sorry it ended the way it did. It's not what I was expecting or anticipating or wanting. It's astonishing to me. I'm absolutely flabbergasted. I need a drink. A strong drink, because that has ruined my day, ruined my weekend. And in some respects, from a modelling perspective, it's kind of ruined my year, because we all want that catharsis of something that's not been great to finally hit a level and then be great, especially a British company. They're just not doing it because they're just not controlling the process, and it's over to them. They need to control it or they're going to sink into oblivion, quite frankly. I know it's first world problems. It's only model kits. Oh no, it's only model kit. Come on. You can't keep making the same excuses anymore. Time's up. It's time to solve it. Solve it or get out of the market. Whatever. I don't understand. I just cannot get my head around how anybody can think it's okay to carry on like that. It's just not acceptable. Not in the 21st century. Anyway, thank you very much for watching. Apologies if I didn't mean to offend anybody. Not my intention. Didn't want to upset anybody. Didn't want to disappoint anybody. I suspect I've disappointed a lot of people because I've shown you the reality, and it's not what was anticipated. It's not what we saw at Telford. If that had been what had been in that box, I would be the champion cheerleader for this product. No question. No question. I like the subject, even though there's others I might have preferred, but I like this. It's so well executed in the way it looks and the instructions and all that. They couldn't even get, but even again, the instructions are all ripped. That's been shoddily done. Badly handled. We've got creasing, damage to the box. It's not good enough. It's not good enough. Over to you, Airfix. What are you going to do to fix it? There's my challenge, and that's what I'm going to ask Dale. I'm going to be fairly open and honest with him and say I'm very disappointed. I can't believe it's happened again. What are you doing to sort it? What assurances can you give that this is not going to keep on happening? That's the question that needs to be answered. Anyway, until next time, thank you very much for watching. Take care of yourselves. Stay well, stay safe. And hopefully next time I'll have something more cheery to talk about. Maybe a more positive story, because this has not ended well. This has not ended well. Well, thanks for watching, and hope you're all well. Stay well, stay safe, and I'll see you again soon. Thanks a lot. Until next time, bye for now.